What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny, and in today's video we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning this weekend's interim title fight at 118 pounds in Argentina between the legend, the Filipino Flash, Nonito Donaire, taking on the Chilean contender, Andres Campos. Guys, before I continue, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's been with me since day one. If you haven't already, could you please remember to hit subscribe? Could you also like this video? And right now, go down to the bottom of your screen, find the bell notification button, hit that so you never miss a video. All right, guys, our journey around the boxing world has taken us this week so far from New York City to Africa. And in this fight, we're going to go to Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm talking about the return of the four-weight world champion, future Hall of Famer, Nonito Donaire. He's fighting for the interim WBO title at 118 pounds. The winner gets a shot at the champion, Antonio Vargas. So in this video, we're gonna break down both guys' careers. We're gonna talk a little bit about how they go about their business, what's at stake for this fight. Also, stay tuned to the end of the video. That's where I'll be going over the Las Vegas odds, and I'll also be giving you my prediction and telling you where to put your money. All right, fight fans, Nonito Donaire is back. It's been a long time since we've seen him fight. So long, that was on the undercard of the Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford fight almost 2 full years ago. He's on record as of late saying that watching a former opponent of his, Naoya Inoue's most recent performance against Ramon Cardenas, inspired him so much that at 42 years old, he's back and wants to give it another go. He'll be challenging a Chilean fighter. Andres Campos has 2 losses. The boxing heads will most remember Campos for a loss against Sonny Edwards, in which he got outboxed, but there's no shame in that. Campos has 2 losses. He's a fast fighter. He's coming up from a smaller division, but guys, don't get it twisted. When I think about Nonito Donaire, I think about his trademark left hook. Of all the fighters in most recent era, when you think about a one punch in their arsenal that is memorable, you gotta put Donaire at the top of that list. The knockouts against Victor Chinian, what he was at his best in his prime. It's almost like he's had 2 separate careers. I do have to admit though, seeing the winner of this fight getting Antonio Vargas, who is a big puncher, could spell trouble for Donaire if he wins this fight. When you think about what Donaire looked like in his last fight. He didn't look good in his last fight. He looked sluggish, he looked slow, and it's a little bit concerning watching him go into this fight against Campos. Granted, like I said, Campos is not a big puncher, but he's gonna have the speed advantage. He's gonna have the youth on his side, and it's gonna be something interesting to think about when we get to the part of this video when we think about putting our money on which guy. So right now, I want to take a closer look at Andres Campos, the Chilean fighter, and see what he's been up to in his career. Guys, Campos is 17-2-1. He has 6 knockouts, carrying into the ring a 35% career knockout to win ratio. Out of 881 fighters at 115 pounds, he's ranked number 76. The 28-year-old Chilean is an orthodox fighter standing at 5'3.5" with a 64.5-inch reach. He was born and lives in Santiago, Chile. We last saw him fight Gibson Garcia, 12-7, stopped him in the 3rd. Velasquez, 19-1, he got stopped in the 6th. Martinez, 12-3, draw in the 10th. Ben Ligas, 15-3, he won via knockout in the 8th. Sonny Edwards, 19-0, he lost the decision in the 12th. So Campos is a guy who's coming up from a smaller division. We know that his opponent is a 4-weight world champion, but obviously their careers are much different. How they go about their business is much different. Campos doesn't have that one-punch electric knockout power, 35% career knockout to win ratio. Like I said, he goes about his business. He navigates the round-by-round game of the sport by winning rounds and using his output to overcome his opponents. When he gets to the highest level, like we've seen him against Sonny, he just didn't have enough in his arsenal, and we know how good Sonny Edwards was when he was at his best. So going into this Nonito Donaire fight, Donaire's 42 years old. You'd have to think that Campos' entire game plan is to just use his volume, score on the cards, and avoid the left hook of Nonito Donaire, but we know that's easier said than done. The one thing on Campos' side, it's hard to not bring up every time we talk about this matchup, is the age gap, specifically what Donaire looked like the last time we saw him, which was 2 years ago. So right now, let's recap everybody on what Donaire's been up to in his most recent version of his career. Guys, Donaire is 42-8 with 28 knockouts. He's not currently ranked at 118 pounds due to his inactivity. He's fought a total career of 311 rounds and carries into the ring a 67% career knockout to win ratio. His adoring fans know him as the Filipino Flash, and the Filipino fighter is a 5'7" orthodox boxer with a 68.5-inch reach. He was born in Taliban, Bohol, Philippines, but calls Las Vegas, Nevada home. We last saw him against Alexandre Santiago, 27-3. He lost to UD in the 12th. Naoya Inoue the second time, 22-0, got stopped in the second. Gaballo, 24-0, knocked him out in the fourth. Obali, 17-0, knocked him out in the fourth. Inoue the first time, 18-0, UD in the 12th. And guys, that first Inoue fight was 6 years ago. And if you go back to that first fight, Nonito Donaire gave Inoue everything he could handle, and a little bit more than that. We know what happened in the rematch. We know he got stopped. And like I said, Donaire has taken a lot of damage in his career. At 42, he's only been stopped twice, once by Inoue and another time by Walters. But guys, what do we always say about boxing? What have you done for me lately? We know he's been inspired by Inoue's performance. He wants to make another run at a world title, but we know what he looked like 2 years ago. Also, I already mentioned Antonio Vargas' name. If Donaire does get past Campos, he then fights a young, dangerous guy in Vargas, which, dare I say, maybe it's not in Donaire's best interest regarding his health that he actually wins this fight, but that's just my own personal opinion because I've been a fan of Donaire forever. We're pretty much the same age, and like I said, if you're unfamiliar, go to YouTube, watch his knockout highlights, watch this guy in multiple divisions become a world champion. So it's hard to bet against him, but it's also hard to watch an aging fighter come back after a long retirement and take unnecessary damage. When I look at the guys side by side, Donaire's the bigger guy. He has the longer reach. He has the power advantage. We know about the resume. He's a future Hall of Famer. The one big element of this matchup is that age and the tread on the tires. Campos is the smaller guy. He's the younger guy, though. He will have the speed advantage. So when we're thinking about what has to happen with the narrative of this fight, Campos is going to have to do his best to avoid Donaire's power, especially if it holds up like it has been his entire career. We know in boxing, the last thing to go is the power, but the first thing to go is the speed and reflexes. And in these lighter divisions, we see what can happen when we see fighters in this weight class have longer careers. They're not as durable, they take way too much damage, and it's hard to watch. With that being said, let's right now take a look at the Las Vegas odds. Guys, I'm going to be giving you my money line prediction bet. I do live streams every day, so if you're new to my channel, catch the live streams. That's when I'll be giving you my method of victory prop bets. Also, it's the end of the week. We'll be building my long money line parlay to let you know who I'm going with and win you some money. All right, guys, the app that I use down here is called Sportsbet. So wherever you are in the world, let's pull our books out and we'll look at those money line odds. Nonito Donaire on the money line is a $1.39 favorite, meaning you put 100 on him to win, you get your money back plus 39. The draw is 16-1. Campos, the Chilean fighter, is a $3.30 dog, meaning you put 100 on Campos, you get your money back plus 230 bucks. Campos is a little bit more than a 2-1 underdog in this, and that has to do strictly with what Donaire brings to the table, his resume, his Hall of Fame career, what we know about him when he's at his best. That left hook, like I already said, is his trademark. When I think about where I'm going to put my money, I'm going to say what I always say at this moment whenever there's fights like this. The advice my dad gave me when I was younger, Johnny, bet with your wallet, not with your heart. My heart is with Nonito Donaire. I'll be watching this fight, wanting to see the Donaire of old, the guy who starched Victor Chinian, wanting to see that power on full display. But my wallet, based on the age, even though he's an underdog, I'm putting my money on the Chilean fighter, Andres Campos. I think his youth is going to be enough. I think he's going to be able to survive that lead hook. And I also think that his speed is going to play a huge factor in getting a victory over Nonito Donaire. Guys, you do not have to agree with me in the comment section below. Let me know how you see this one going. Are we going to see the clocks reverse back in time and see the Filipino flash of old? Or are we going to see it's the Chileans moment and watch Andres Campos come out with his hand raised? Also, guys, if you haven't seen my breakdown, prediction, and analysis of the main event taking place in New York City this weekend between the champion at 140 pounds, Richardson Hitchens, and the challenger, former world champion at 135, the Aussie, George Campos Jr., stay tuned to the channel because that's coming up right now.